Have you ever been told you ask too many questions, or that you overcomplicate simple things, or come across as emotionally cold just because you need to know exactly why something is the way it is? Hearing people tell you to just let it go over and over again takes a toll. Over time, it is easy to internalize that friction, leading to the assumption that your relentless need for logic is a flaw. But psychology points to a completely different reality. These specific traits are proven markers of cognitive flexibility. To see why your mind works this way, we are going to look under the hood. We are going to map exactly how data flows through an analytical mind, an internal operating system built specifically for a cognitive rebel. Mapping this internal architecture reveals that you are running a highly fortified systemic processing engine. The first stage of this cognitive pipeline is the input filter. On the left of this diagram, a typical brain accepts rules and norms through social conformity, letting information slide right through an open gate. On the right, the analytical mind encounters the exact same rules, but the gate is heavily fortified and locked tight. Before that gate opens, your brain demands a reason. Research links higher intelligence with lower levels of conformity. You don't follow instructions simply because they exist. You wait for your internal scanner to find a logical route before allowing the information inside. The exact same process applies to external advice. Instead of accepting guidance based on emotion, your brain routes it into a sandbox simulation. It tests the advice against your own internal reasoning, actively probing the data for structural weakness. This rigorous filter is precisely what causes social friction. To the person offering advice, your hesitation makes them feel unheard or judged. They assume you are acting superior, when your mind simply requires hard evidence over emotional reassurance. By keeping the gate locked until the logic checks out, you naturally resist instructions that lack evidence. This rigorous filter makes the analytical mind incredibly adaptable and effectively immune to operating within broken systems. Once data passes the filter, it enters the internal processor. In this phase, the mind subjects accepted data to abstract reasoning to build massive cause and effect chains. Constantly digging into the why exhausts people who want a quick, simple answer. But for this processor, drilling down through these descending links to find the absolute foundation is a mandatory requirement to understand the entire system. When a situation gets heated, this same processor takes elder to handle high-emotion data. Psychologists call this cognitive distancing. It is an active firewall that uses logic to map out and manage feelings, rather than letting raw emotions flood the system. While analyzing your own emotions protects you from breaking down in a crisis, it inadvertently creates a barrier to emotional intimacy. Because your heart requires a logical framework to release what it feels, others easily misinterpret your processing as being distant or cold. Ultimately, the internal processor prioritizes system comprehension and protection. It consistently chooses logical frameworks over raw expression to maintain operational stability. All of this internal mapping dictates your final behavioral output, which becomes most obvious during a high-stress crisis. Look at this line graph comparing stress responses. When things go wrong, a typical brain often outputs highly emotional language, panicking or complaining. As you can see, that emotional vocabulary causes the stress curve to spike rapidly into the red zone, which halts cognitive reasoning. Now track the analytical output. While everyone else panics, you stay completely literal. By using neutral language, stating what failed and asking what can be adjusted, your stress curve stays perfectly flat, locked firmly inside a calm problem-solving state. Highly emotional people will often look at that steady output and call you robotic. But generating less drama allows your cognitive resources to stay online, producing the logic required to actually solve the problem. When you zoom out and look at the complete pipeline, the behaviors people call annoying reveal themselves as precise mechanisms for navigating reality. In an environment that is perfectly content to settle for blind obedience and surface-level convenience, a mind that demands meaning, evidence, and truth is necessary. The friction you encounter from peers or authority figures serves as the inherent cost of innovation and challenging the status quo. So stop apologizing for asking why. If you want to keep exploring the deep dive psychology that explains exactly how your mind works without the surface level advice, hit the subscribe button right now. Step fully into the role of the cognitive rebel, because the minds that refuse to accept broken systems